Well, hello, and welcome back to another episode. We have a guest on today, Megan.
Hello.
Very exciting. We are going to talk about singleness today. I wanted her to come on. She's been a really good friend to me, and we've talked a lot about singleness and relationships, but today we're going to specifically talk about singleness and just the journey that it's been for us. So do you have anything that you want to say before we just start jumping into the conversation?
Well, it's funny because I'm so random. Like, I looked at my feet and I'm like, wow, my feet are really pasty. I know that's off topic, but
It's okay. We get off topic a lot in my videos.
But I think I just want to be honest and transparent of my journey through singleness and what that's looked like for me. I mean, it's not the same for everybody, but I think a lot of the emotions and feelings that come along with singleness kind of go in the same category of emotions and feelings that one feels internally. And I think those are really important to mention and talk about because, like we prayed about before, we're not alone in that. And I think that's really important for other people to know that you're not alone in those feelings and emotions.
Yeah. So, singleness is a huge thing. Like, yeah. I mean, if you're not married, then you're single. You know, you may be in a relationship dating someone, but you're still single. You're not married. So. We've been in relationships before with different guys, but we've never been married. So we're both the same age, both 23. Well, you're 24
I'm
now.
24, but you're on the way.
Yeah, I'm on the way to 24. Same year we were born.
Yes.
So I guess give a little background on how you used to feel about singleness and how you've kind of maybe come to where you are now.
Well, I haven't had many boyfriends, but the boyfriends that I did have were long period. They lasted a long time, with a lot of ups and downs and traumatic experiences. And I think through those traumatic experiences, I don't know what I was trying to find in them, but I think majority of the time you're trying to find your identity in something other than God, and I think that's what I was doing. And as well as you hear those saying of you're trying to find your dad in the relationships that you are in and partaking in. And I think that I didn't realize that's what I was doing in the moment, because as growing up, me and my dad did have kind of a rough patch of how we communicated and me acknowledging how he treated others, including me. And I think during that process of just looking back, I was trying to find my identity in who I was, and in my mind, I needed someone else for that. And I felt, I wouldn't say complete, but I felt more accepted, and I had fears, but in order to get away from those fears, I needed someone to be along with the ride. And then I think one day I just woke up, and being in a toxic relationship of just nothing was good enough. I felt all my fears were already in that relationship. So it was I'm afraid of these things, but yet I'm experiencing these things,
Yeah.
And I think for me it was more of I'm alone already. I'm alone already in this relationship, so I might as well be alone and take that courage, take that step to be free and let those things go and be who God created me to be. And I think that it takes courage to do those things. And I think God instilled that courage in me and that strength within me without me even knowing, because during that time I didn't have a strong relationship with the Lord. And I think that having that happen and becoming single, and I think it was a year and a half of me just really working on my relationship with the Lord.
And you think that came from you being single?
Oh yeah, no doubt. There is no way that, because when there's another person added to the equation, your main focus is how can I appease this person? How can I love this person? How can I give more to this person? And you take away from, I mean, I know it sounds selfish, but you're taking away from you without even knowing it, especially if it's a toxic relationship.
Yeah. And now that you've been single for a period of time, how do you feel about it now? Are you confident in that? Are you uneasy?
I think before it was a fear of being alone and not feeling the love, but I think with singleness, I was thinking about this last night, that it came with community.
Yeah.
It came with an awesome sense of community, of the fact you don't need love from a romantic partner. like you
Amen
don't.
to that.
Yeah, like you have, like me being in relationship with you, like our friendship has grown. We've kept each other accountable. We listen, and while we like just we pour into each other's lives, and I think that's why God created community, for those reasons. So when I was single, I wanted to interact more. I wanted to go find that small group that I could lean on and talk to, and I'm already kind of reserved with my feelings, so it challenged me to be more open with, okay, like, how are you feeling about being single? It opened for a place for healing, and I think that's what I really needed. And although I'm still needing to heal, I think that I wouldn't have been able to come to that place of like, okay, God, like work on my heart, mend these wounds, so I can be a wife to someone and still be confident in who I am. So I think being single led to more confidence in my being independence, but also there's insecurities are something that I'm probably always going to have to work on, but I think having that time by yourself and that relationship with God and others allows you to speak highly of yourself, not in a non-humble way, but knowing that you're worthy and loved and speaking that into your life.
Yeah, I think one thing you said that I've been thinking a lot about is how we can put romantic sexual relationships as like the end all be all of like intimacy that you can have with someone on earth, but when you look at Jesus, he had an intimate group of friends. He wasn't married. People like Paul, and basically one thing I've noticed is like how, like you said, important friendships are, and how you can have deep, intimate, rewarding, fulfilling relationships with friends on earth. And sometimes, especially in the church, we can kind of disregard that and put marriage as like the end all be all.
Like, it's gonna fix everything.
Yeah,
you know?
like that's when like your life is complete.
Exactly.
That's when you've arrived spiritually. That's when you're like in the know, and that's when you'll really be sanctified. But especially over the past year or two of being single, for me, I've really experienced similar things of community, and just how like wonderful that can be. And then especially if you're married, you don't want to be isolated. So if you do look at marriage as like the end all be all for intimacy, then you're going to disregard your community, and that's going to affect your marriage, because you can't do marriage on your own, or at least you shouldn't, because you need accountability. You still need relationships with other people to speak into your life and for you to speak in their life. Like, we're not meant to live this life alone. And so really valuing friendships, I think, is huge when you're single, and even when you're dating should be huge as well, because it's not like the purpose of our life. I think sometimes we can think like, oh, the purpose of our life is to like find a husband. That's when our life starts. That's when we can start doing the things we really want to do, instead of looking at like our purpose is ultimately to glorify God, whether we're married or not married, to look towards heaven, and that ultimately like that God should be our number one. Because like when you're married, that's a huge thing that people have to like grapple with, is like they're one flesh with their spouse, and so they don't want to lose their spouse, but then you also don't want to make your spouse an idol over God, because God should always be number one. And so just that kind of idea of not depending on another person.
I think this topic, singleness, is it's hard to explain, because if you're not Christian, you look at singleness as when you go out and party with your friends, or you
hook up with different people,
or you're constantly seeking different things to fill the void that you're feeling from that breakup, or from being alone, or being in your room and sitting with those feelings. Because that's my problem, is just sitting with those feelings and sitting with the things that God wants me to connect with. Like, that's a problem, and that's a struggle, because those things are fun. Like, I want to have fun, you know, like same. I want to go out and I want to enjoy myself. So sitting with those feelings is like you know, like you don't want to do that. But at the end of the day, when you have that stillness and you seek God to come into your heart and seek him to fill you and give you peace and love and heal you, you can't describe the feeling. You know, there was one time where in the beginning of my singleness, I really just hunkered down, praying, reading my Bible, and just loving that time. And I physically felt God mending my heart. And I couldn't, I just touched it. And I was like I didn't even know what to do because I've never experienced something like that. But when it takes dedication, it takes intentionality in order to heal.
Yeah.
Even when it scares you, because it is scary. Because a lot of the time, you know,
like you have to want to heal.
Yes, you have to want to, and you also, there's things, you know, that are deep down that you don't even know that are there until you possibly might get married, and you're like, oh wow, this is like, but it's the work that you put in your singleness that will prepare you for adding someone else into the equation.
Yeah, and to be a lot healthier, be more well-equipped.
Yeah, because the idea is to live an independent life and bring someone in that and, you know, live a good life, but still be two independent people who come together and spread the gospel or show people love or create a community group or just doing the acts of service that God has called us to do. That is the objective. It's not, oh, you come with me, and there's control. There's toxicity. There's my insecurities again.
Like, you're mine.
You're mine. Yeah. Like,
you're my person.
Yeah, you can't go, you can't do that. Like, no, it's like, I'm secure in myself, you're secure in yourself, and when we come together, it is a place of peace. I mean, it's never going to be perfect, but I think that's what singleness is made for us to do. And it's also to enjoy our time. You know, it's not just, oh man, I'm going to pout slouch every day because I'm alone. Like, no, you're not alone. You know, you have God, you have friends, people. You have your family, you have opportunities to go out and travel, you have opportunities to not have to worry about someone else. And I know that sounds bad, but in the most awesome way possible. You have another level of freedom.
Yeah, you're fully devoted to God.
Exactly. And I think that in itself is amazing, and I think it's a breath of fresh air, honestly. You know? And I think of that, I'm like, man, I think we've even talked about it, of like, I don't want to be with someone right now.
Yeah.
Like,
no, yeah.
You get to that point.
You don't want to be with someone.
You get to the point where you're like, man, no. Like, you have to be very, very special.
Yeah, exactly. But it's good to get to that point where you have to be very, very special and, like, worth it because of how we're thriving on our own with God and with the people He surrounded us with. One thing I thought of when you were talking about, like, distractions is I think sometimes single people can sometimes overly distract. To kind of fill that void of not having a person, overly commit themselves and overly keep themselves busy and not choose to sit with God. And take that time with just you and Him. And
I mean, I still struggle with that.
Yeah.
I've been single for going on 2.5 years. You know, and I still struggle with just being like, okay, I'm not gonna watch this Johnny Depp lawsuit, whatever, like for hours on end. Like, I'm not gonna do that. I really should sit here, read my Bible, and talk to God. But then I realized, like, it's so weird. Like, I'll sit and I'll be like, I have so much on my mind, and then as soon as I go to God and I want to pray for these things on my mind, they disappear. And I'm like, I'm sorry, God, there's so many things that I can't just pick one out of my brain and talk to you about. But it's like, okay, that's where the stillness comes, and that's where you really just sit, okay, what am I feeling? Like, what am I supposed to be talking to God about right now? And that's where the stillness comes in, because you need to go to your prayer closet, be still, and give it to God, even if you can't pinpoint, but just talk to Him. It's a conversation just like we're having right now, and I think that's beautiful, you know?
Yeah. I think also coming to a place of not idealizing or idolizing marriage so much that you are kind of like obsessed with it, you want it so badly, coming to a place where you're content.
Well, just also not settling.
Yes,
oh, he's Christian. Like, no. Like, just because he's Christian doesn't mean that he's meant for you. Just because he's Christian doesn't mean that it's going to be perfect or it's going to work. It's like, no, everybody has faults. Everybody sins. We're not perfect. And I think that's another thing is, like, you be content where you are. And that's another point that I wanted to bring up is, like, before bed, pray for your future spouse. Like, give it to God of, like, what you want, because he already knows what he has for you. But that conversation is like, okay, I know her. Like, I know him. I know their desires of their hearts are ready, but they're confessing it to me.
Yeah.
And I think that in itself is so important because you want God to know, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just so beautiful. Just, like, it makes me want to get emotional sometimes, you know, thinking about it. And all that God has for us, but it's just, like, taking that step to talk to him and, like, bringing him in of what you're feeling and how it is, because it's not easy.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, now the uncomfortable topic of whether...
Sex? Just
No.
kidding.
That is an uncomfortable topic.
Ooh la la, just kidding.
No, the other uncomfortable topic of, like, whether we get married at all.
Oh, yeah. Bum,
Like,
bum, bum.
whether God has that intended for us.
Yeah.
Or if he does have it intended, like, what if it's a really long time?
Right.
Like, what if it's a decade or two?
Yeah.
And just how, like, I guess we could, like, give advice to our potential future selves or other people potentially watching this who are, like, in their 30s or 40s.
Yeah.
Or
Well, you know, I'm only 24, so I don't have a bunch of wisdom when it comes to this specific topic, but I know God made promises to us, and I know that God doesn't break a promise. And even if you are called to be single, there are so many ways to fill that possible frustration or discouragement or questioning of why this life is what God called you. And I don't have all the answers. I think for me, my mind goes to immediately pray about it and just give it to God, yell at him, cry to him, whatever it is you have to do to get it out. I think that in itself brings comfort and peace. And I just challenge you to bring it to community. You know, live your life. I know it sucks and it's sad, but your life doesn't stop.
yeah.
You know, like, you have to pursue your hobbies, or you have to pursue what you feel like you're called to do by God. Like, and that's just me in the surface level, you know, because I can't put myself in their shoes of, like, exactly what that is like or what you're going through internally.
Yeah. I think a community is huge. Like, having dinners with other people. I know some single friends who, on holidays, they'll go over to either the pastor's house or another family's house and have dinner with them. I think holidays can be the hardest for single people because everyone goes to, like, their spouse's family and things like that. And, you know, if you don't have parents nearby, if they don't celebrate holidays, or you guys have a strained relationship, then you're kind of, like, alone to a certain degree. So I think having a community of people who will bring you in, like, even if you're the only single person, not exclude you and have you, like, be a part of the family is huge.
I see myself, like, if I, like, say, God, please, true. But if I was 45 and I wasn't married, had no kids, you know, my kids could be the kids I minister at church.
Yeah.
You know, and say I am lonely on a holiday, you know, I can go help charities. Like, I could go feed whatever it is. There's so many cool things that you can do. And I think that in itself brings joy because you're making a difference. You're giving yourself. And I know it's hard to, like, here we go. Like, it's Valentine's Day and I'm alone. But, like, find the joy in that. And that's just me because I try to find the joy in things. But, like, if you can just self-talk yourself, it helps so much.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I think that's a good philosophy to have because, like, let's say you get married, but let's say you don't have kids.
Yeah.
And then there's that possibility. And so I know someone who, like, the girls that she mentors are, like, her kids.
Yeah, exactly.
And that can be sometimes even more special or beneficial Because
'cause-
maybe they didn't have like a parent figure.
Yeah, or they don't have to clean dirty diapers
Yeah,
and
that
wake
too.
up.
And wake up, yeah.
really early in the morning.
Yeah.
So there's a blessing to even a negative, you know?
Yeah. And you can be like a spiritual mentor.
Yeah.
And be like open up your home and your life
Mm-hmm.
to help people and speak into their life when maybe they don't have someone else to do that. And
Yeah, I mean,
fulfill God's purpose in it.
I feel people who have been single for a very long time and don't know if that is God's will. Like, I feel for those people because I think even though I'm young and you're young, it's still a worry, it's still a possibility. But just believe and have faith in your God because you never know what He's going to do. And don't fall back from your faith. Continue it, push through it, and see how He blesses you. Might not be in a husband, but it could be financially. It could be an opportunity in your business life. It could be you know, it's endless on the possibilities of what God could bless you with. So I think that having people around you who can challenge you too. You know, because I mean, it's hard to challenge yourself when you're in that state of depression, anxiety, whatever it is, to be like, okay, let's go to the beach, or hey, okay, let's go here. Like, have people in your life who are going to do that. Don't isolate yourself because it's just going to make it worse. It's just going to make it worse. I'm speaking from experience of just isolation in particular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point of not isolating and having people, like, I think one thing that's really big is, like, if you are single, having roommates, you know, or
Yeah.
having someone that you can stay with so you're not living alone. Can you scoot back so your head's not cut off?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. There you go. That's better. And so, yeah, I think also, like, realizing that this earth is temporary helps. Like, the things that we do here, it's not eternity. Like, it still matters. We should still glorify God. We should still share the gospel, baptize people, disciple, all of those commissions we're called to do. But, like, we're not going to store up our treasures on this earth. And that helps a lot as well. And, yeah, singleness can be weird, you
like
know?
this bird is just chilling. Like, it's just flying by itself. And it has
How it
food.
must feel to be a bird.
Yeah, it has food, it has water, and its buddies who knows where they are, but he's just living life.
Roaming low overseas.
Yeah, probably. But my point is, it's like,
That's a reference to a song I've been listening to on repeat
Oh.
today. It's by Dermot Kennedy. He
I
says in the
love him.
first line, how it must feel to be a bird roaming low overseas. And then he says, how it must feel to be a bird, London, Paris underneath.
ooh, Dermot Kennedy. No, but seriously, it's
I
like,
just thought that when you, like, look at
Yeah,
the bird, and I was
like,
like, oh my gosh,
there's been a
yes.
butterfly, there's been a bird, and they've both been alone. So it's like, it's okay. Like, if birds can do it, we can do it. You know? And I know that sounds so corny and so weird, but it's like, it's true. Like, the birds are taken care of, so are we.
Yeah, and that's literally a verse in
Yeah,
the Bible.
Yeah.
Like, the birds get fed,
Yeah.
so we don't need to worry
Yeah.
about
We
tomorrow.
don't need to worry. Take a day at a time. Know that you're going to be taken care of. Know that God has you, and continue to keep that in your mind. Have things written on your mirror, you know, or I don't know. It's just, there's so many endless things that you can do when you're in that. Call someone. There's been moments where I've just been sitting in my room and I'm just like, blah, and then I see Stacy and I'm like, okay, one, I either can ignore this or I need to answer. And normally when I answer, it's always good. And majority
Normally. When is it not good?
No, it is good. I'm saying sometimes when I'm so isolated, I don't answer calls.
Okay, yeah.
But when I push myself and I challenge myself to
Yes.
answer that call that
Okay.
I don't want to answer, I answer and something good comes out of it.
Okay, like
And
a
that-
phone call with me,
Yeah.
which is always good.
Yes, exactly. So I think I'm challenging you
Yeah.
and you.
Yeah, call people.
Yeah, call people or
Let's bring it back. I love calling friends.
yes. She's great at that. I am not.
You
and
call
that's
me sometimes.
yeah, but I'm not as good as you.
Aw,
Yeah, you're really great at that. I struggle with that because I'm very like to me. So I get caught up really easily. So when I have people who intentionally reach out, hey, how are you? Like, I'm like, oh, wow, thank you. How are you doing? It's not like I don't care. It's just how I act. But you're really great at that. So I love that about you.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Any closing thoughts on singleness?
I know it's really hard, but
It's not fun sometimes.
it's not fun sometimes, but there's so much beauty that comes along with it. And I just take it as it comes, take it day by day, embrace the wind, embrace the sun, embrace the opportunities, try a new place, reach out to your friends. This is the opportunity to strengthen your community more than push yourself away from your community. And I think that this is the time to heal those feelings that you haven't, or the traumas that you haven't, and bringing God into that and allowing him to work in that and see the blessings that can come out of that. And pray a lot.
Yeah, having quiet time with God is really important. Cultivating that relationship, because that's really what's going to sustain you, whether you're in a relationship or not in a relationship.
Yeah.
Because if you don't cultivate that when you're not in a relationship, when you are in one, and if you break up, it's going to be that much more devastating. And then also, I'll close on like the reality that even if you do get married and you're not single, your spouse could die or something could happen. Like, you may be single again. And so I think it's good to just have a proper perspective.
Be grounded in the Lord.
Yeah.
When all else fails, be grounded in the Lord.
I also noticed just right now that you're wearing blue jeans and I have a blue top and I'm wearing white jeans and you have a cream top. Or like
this
matchy
is
matchy.
a match made in heaven.
Cool. Yay.
Yay, cool.
I think that's the end of the video.
I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you watch this and send it to someone who you think might need some encouragement to know that they're not alone.
Yeah. High five. That was
That
kind
was
of lame. We both were like, that was no good.
That was just pinky.
Yeah,
we
that
need
was, yeah, a good one. Oh, let's do a fist bump. Cool. Bye, guys.